Hi everyone and welcome to Wine Theory. My name is Sebastian Crowther and this is the April subscription pack. These short videos that I'm preparing for you are serving as a little bit more of a guide to the wines that you're getting delivered each month. You will find inside each of your packs a small little card which contains a bit of information about each of the wines, but I wanted to put a slightly more personal touch on it and give you a little bit more insight into the reasons why I've selected the wines for you that I have this month. So without further ado, I want to jump in and I want to talk to you about the first two wines that we've selected. So starting, we have the 2018 TWR or Tefarerah Toru White Blend. They've kindly abbreviated it for us to make it a little bit easier to say, but Tefarerah is a Maori word and Toru is also a Maori word, which means three. And that's because this wine is made from three grapes. And those three grapes are Riesling, Pinot Gris and Gewürztraminer. And it might sound like a slightly unusual concoction that they've come up with, but it's actually a really typical and traditional blend which comes from the Alsace wine region in France, where they've had great success. And the reason why it works so well is that each one of these grape varieties brings something different to the table. Riesling brings this really lovely, fresh, high acidity, which keeps the wine crisp, as well as providing some lovely floral characteristics too. Pinot Gris is less acidic. It has more texture, or almost an oily sensation when you see it by itself. And so in these wines, just provides a lovely kind of textural dimension to the wine. And Gewürztraminer, well, if you've ever had Gewürztraminer as a single varietal white wine, you'll know what it's capable of. It's got intense aromatics, often described as rosewater, Turkish delight, these very intensely floral-like characters, which can sometimes be quite confronting, but when blended into a white such as this, can provide this really lovely, interesting aromatic complexity. And Anna and Jason Flowerday have done an amazing job in making this wine. It's got all the pieces in the right places, and the one thing I will say about it, on the palate, is that this wine has a little bit of sweetness. And for some people that can scare them off slightly, but I really encourage you not to be scared off by this bit of sweetness. Drinking them by themselves, you might notice that sweetness, but when you match it with food, it tends to disappear. And so what I'd encourage you to do is to match this with something like Vietnamese or Thai cuisine, where that little bit of sweetness can counteract the spiciness that you have in the dish. And also those really lovely floral characteristics, those aromatic characters can work well with things like Thai basil or coriander, or some of those really aromatic components that you have in the dish itself. So seek those out, and I hope you enjoy this wine that comes from the Marlborough wine region in New Zealand. Next, we move to a wine region that's slightly closer to home, and this comes from a great man, a guy called Barney Flanders. And Barney's spent many, many years working all around the world before he settled back in the Mornington Peninsula, a wine region about 1 hour south of Melbourne. He created about 10 years ago a wine label called Garage East, and this is the Le Stagiaire Chardonnay 2018. And this is a Chardonnay which is very true to trend, let's say. If you went back 20 years or so, even less, 15 years, you would remember Chardonnays that had a lot more richness to them. They had a weight, a real creaminess to them. The fruit character of those wines tended to be more in the stone fruit end of the spectrum. They tended to be quite ripe, and they tended to have less acidity to them. Buttery would often be a word that was used to describe them. The modern Australian Chardonnay is far away or far removed from this character. They tend to have fruit characters which are more in the citrus end of the spectrum. Lemon, grapefruit, very pithy, tart, more acidic styles. They tend to use less new oak, and the wines tend to be more linear or more straight on the palate than those older styles of Chardonnay which tended to be much more unctuous and rich. And so Barney's created a beautiful style like that. It definitely changes the cuisine that you would serve it with, rather than something big and heavy and buttery with regards to sauce. These wines work nicely with things that are slightly fresher. I think carpaccio, or a fresh piece of fish which has just been lightly seared on the grill. They're wonderful wines, and the Mornington Peninsula is really one of Australia's most iconic wine regions. It's a peninsula, as the name suggests, which has the Bass Strait on one side and gets hit with some pretty inclement weather, but they're capable of producing some incredible wines. So I hope you enjoy these two. Please let me know what you think via email, and I look forward to sharing some more wines with you soon.